Good morning, Dina. Thanks for joining me again today. We heard from you last time about the sustainability pavilion, but this time we're going to look at sustainability across the whole of the Expo. So if I might just introduce you again, Dina Storey, Director of Operations for the whole of the Expo. And what we're going to talk about today, I think, Dina, is the way you've integrated sustainability principles, and particularly ethical production and greener production, environmentally friendly and ethical production, into the supply chain of the whole Expo. Are you happy to talk about that today?
Yes, absolutely, Errol. Thank you for having me again. It's a real pleasure and an honor, and it's very important for us to communicate what we're doing at the Expo and how we're looking at different angles from a sustainability perspective. So we're not just looking at the built environment, just like we were talking previously. We're also talking about our operations and how we manage our products and services coming into Expo. And as you know, around the world, and I will share some information with you. By the way, all of this information is on our website. So that you can that anyone can actually see and download the documents and information that we have. When we look at our supply chain, when we look at the products and services that we bring, we look at it through a specific lens. When we were trying to understand what that lens looks like, we realized that there isn't a tailored approach. First of all, for mega events, and second of all, for mega events in the region. So we created what we call the RISE document. And the RISE document it's an acronym. It stands for Respect of Workforce, Impact for Communities, Safety for All, and Environmental Stewardship. And then through that, we look at different requirements. So the requirements for food and beverage through the lens of RISE, the requirements for packaging, the requirements for retail, cleaning services, logistics, furniture, fittings, and equipment. So the furniture that we're using at Expo, all the fittings that are coming in, and landscape. And
Dina, just to interrupt, just so that everybody's clear, and this is being effectively operated across all of the pavilions on the site. It's not just the UAE pavilion.
So it's not just the UAE pavilion. This document has been given to all of the international participants, of course, and they look at their products and services through this lens. And what we do is we guide them through it. So our responsibility is to guide them through it and talk them through the process. Don't forget, this is a really, really new process of looking at not just the environmental, but as you said, the social aspects of it, and also the impact on the communities where the products are made.
And have the other pavilion builders and so on, have they responded well to this? Have they done it? Is compliance high?
They have done it. We're actually right now automating the process of verification. So within the next month or so, it would be a lot easier. Because it's so new, because it's different, we decided to also take it a step further and work to automate the verification process, which simplifies it, of course, and which allows us to get to a wider audience. Our hope for this document, or our hope for this, is for it to become the first eco-label of the region. And we hope that it will be taken as a way to standardize mega event operational requirements in the future. We're sharing it. It's on our website, as I mentioned, and we're trying to generate some communications around how the RISE document is implemented. And we're very excited to see a lot of our suppliers are coming on board and are happily taking this on. So
I think, Dina, if I might say so, I think this is much bigger than an eco label, because it's going to have real credibility behind it, and many of the eco labels don't have that. I wouldn't call this an eco label. This is something different. But carry on. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think this is really impressive.
Absolutely fine. So we have specific goals or criteria for the RISE document. One of them is for packaging, implementing our front of house packaging, non-recyclable packaging. So the cups and the lids and the straws and all of these things need to meet specific criteria so that we can compost them or recycle them in a specific way. Encourage responsible sourcing of food and food products. And that means looking at things like locality of the food, where it's coming from, which ticks two boxes. First, from a water conservation perspective, but then also from a emissions perspective. Promoting the UAE's economy, because this creates a whole new green economy that will be able to expand beyond the time of the Expo into legacy. And then encourage suppliers to engage with their local communities so that where the product is made, there's a focus on the community where it's made and how the product is affecting the community based from both from a social perspective and from an environmental perspective. And as we go through this, I will give you examples.
Sure.
So as I said, it's divided into different sections: food and beverage, packaging, retail, cleaning services. So making sure that the products that are coming in are eco-friendly, are not abrasive, don't have any hard chemicals, because that's also bad for the health and well-being of the people who will be visiting the Expo. Logistics, encouraging logistic efficiency and utilizing packaging for logistics. We're working, of course, very closely with our commercial partners, such as, our logistics commercial partner, in this case, UPS, is very on board with this and have taken this on quite aggressively. Furniture fittings and fit out, of course, this is looking at what the products, how the products are made that fit inside the pavilions. And then, of course, the landscaping, focusing on native and adaptive, and making sure that we're using compost to compost versus chemical products to grow our plants. So when we look at the bigger picture and why, for example, we're looking at this RISE document, why is it important? It's important because the product production is important, because it still will have us as Expo taking these products. So how are these products made is very important to us. The recyclability, as I said, of the packaging, the consumption of what we are consuming at the Expo site will actually affect our waste diversion rate. And of course, the input of the product and how we can the materials that the product is made of. And if it's made of materials that have dyes in them that have been spewing, let's say, chemicals into a river where there's a village, that's not something that we want. So we will look at the entire supply chain and we verify it, and we work very closely with our suppliers on this and our retail and FMD suppliers. So I'll give you an example of that. This is a plush toy that has been made for Expo. It's the Latifa plush toy. You can buy it even on Amazon now. So when we go and look at this toy, we look at it through the RISE lens. So we have to make sure that there's safety for the consumer, that the product meets the consumer safety requirements, and there has to be evidence of that. So we don't just take the producer's word for it. We actually have to have evidence for that. What is the packaging? So if you look at the label, is it recyclable? It has to be recyclable. It has to meet our recycling requirements. What is the manufacturing process? Is it an ethical toy? Is it made ethically? Are there evidence that this toy is made ethically? And is there evidence that the dyes that are used, for example, for Latifa's dress or her hair are not abrasive and have not been impacting the environment around where it's made?
Dina, just to be clear, so it's under this ethical toy certification area that the labour conditions would be dealt with, for example, in the manufacturing process?
Yes, but we depend on the entire supply chain. So it's where the toy is manufactured, but also how it's going through the supply chain as well.
So it's the whole process by which labour engages in that, coming from the raw material. Yeah. That's an enormous task to check all of that.
And hence why we are automating the process. As you see, it's not an easy task. Now, I am not going to say to you that we are going to be doing this for the entire site. We want to do it for the entire site, but if we do it for 90% of the products and services on the site, then we've achieved something.
I mean, so sadly, that would still be world leading by exactly. A long way. You know, it's not there's a lot of competition in this field, is it?
No, but at the same time, the goal here is to move the needle, to Absolutely. Be more ethical, to be more environmentally friendly, and then the social and environmental impact, how that leads to the economic impact, the positive economic impact in the long run. And the only way we can do that is by moving the needle a little bit at a time without hindering the supplier's economic benefit, because we don't want to, you know, a lot of the suppliers that we have here, and we have a mandate for utilizing SMEs, what we don't want to do is hinder the growth of this SME, but at the same time, we have to make sure that what we're bringing in represents the ethics of what Expo stands for.
Dina, just on that, it's a good time to raise it. I mean, why has the Expo put such emphasis on this? Where did that come from? Where did the desire to make the Expo as sustainable as it is, where did that priority originate?
So the priority came from the leadership, really. When Expo first bid when the UAE first bid to host the first World Expo, they made a commitment, and that commitment has kind of taken on of course the built environment, the operational aspects, the social aspects. And our job as the sustainability team is to ensure all of these are put in place. From an environmental aspect, of course, the water, energy, waste, and so on and so forth. From a social aspect, we look at gender equality, we look at accessibility, we look at all of the elements, our worker welfare policies, and how important our workers are to us, but also the work, the labor that goes into the products and services that we bring to the Expo. They all have to represent that vision that came from the commitment to the BIE when the UAE bid for the Expo.
And that was from the Emirati leadership.
Absolutely.
Just to be clear for the people who are listening to this, seems to me that this is groundbreaking in two senses. The first is obviously that it's the first Expo to have taken sustainability as seriously as this. But it's also going to reposition the UAE, isn't it? Because people are going to see the UAE differently to the way it's been seen in the recent past in terms of its commitment to sustainability and ethical labour standards and so on. This really is it's a very important moment in the history of the UAE. It's not just about the Expo.
I absolutely agree. And the focus is making sure that we convey the message, and there's an educational element to it as well. There's a knowledge transfer. This is why when I said our RISE document is on our website, it truly is on our website. Our strategy is on our website. Why? Because it doesn't just belong to the Expo. It belongs to everyone who wants to take that knowledge and move it forward. And as I said, I keep saying moving the needle because we can't move it all the way, but what we can do is keep moving it until we get to more positive actions at a global level.
Yeah, there's still so much to do, isn't there, Dina? But this is a remarkable beginning to that process. Let's hope others do take it up.
I hope so too. And I hope that when you do come visit the Expo, you see the products and the services through that different lens.
Dina, I look forward to that. I hope very much that I will be able to get out to visit. Is there anything you want to add to this?
So I want to add one thing to this, is that the uniqueness of the way that we're looking at the supply chain and the RISE document itself is a very, very innovative way of operationally doing things. And my goal is to make sure that people around the world actually go and see this document and ask the right questions. You know, we always talk about ethical fashion and we talk about all of these different things. it's important to ask these questions. It's important to ask where your products are coming from. It's important to understand your food source and the locality of the food source. You know, the closer you are to the food supply origin, the better it is for you. And all of these things fall under this big umbrella. And what we're trying to do is bring that to life here at Expo.
Dina, thank you. That's been absolutely fascinating. Another example of the way in which the Expo is just driving forward change, which is in a way what the Expos were always designed to do. But I think this is a really major change, and to see it coming out of the UAE will, I think, reposition a significant part of your region of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.